You know that feeling when a story just grabs you, especially up there on the big screen? That total immersion.
Oh, absolutely, where you just forget everything else.
Exactly. Now imagine that whole experience being fundamentally reshaped, maybe even elevated, by one single massive creative choice.
Hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the scorching sands of Arrakis. We're focusing on a decision that's really shaking up the film world.
Yeah, it's big news. This could make Dune Part 3 the most visually stunning and maybe even the most emotionally resonant chapter yet.
It really could.
It's all about Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 3,
Mm.
being shot predominantly on actual film. That's a really significant departure from the first two.
It is. And our mission for you is to unpack exactly why this shift from digital capture to celluloid is happening. What does it really mean for the visual texture, the sort of soul of Arrakis on screen?
And the emotional impact, too.
Yeah.
We'll dive into that whole fascinating, sometimes pretty heated debate around film versus digital in modern cinema.
We will. We're drawing insights from Y.M.CINEMA magazine's article, Dune Part 3 will be shot on film, and also the discussion in its comments section, which got pretty lively.
Oh, yeah, some strong opinions there.
Definitely. So get ready for some serious insights into the art and, I guess, the science of cinematography.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this then. For the first two Dune films, the visual approach was, I mean, let's face it, pretty cutting edge, epic scale.
Totally. Visually stunning.
But now, Part 3 is making this big pivot. Before we get to the why, remind us, what exactly was the original strategy for capturing Arrakis? What were they going for visually?
Well, the first two, like you said, were visually incredible, and they leaned heavily on large format digital capture. They were using top-tier cameras, things like the Arri Alexa 65 and the Arri Alexa LF.
Right, the big guns.
Exactly. But here's the crucial bit. The goal wasn't just, raw digital data. The intention was actually to achieve a specific film texture after the fact in post-production.
Okay. How did they do that?
They took the digital footage and transferred it to actual 35 millimeter film. It's a process called a film out. And then they scanned that film back into a digital format.
Wow, that sounds elaborate.
It is. The whole point was to try and bake in that sense of grain, that kind of beautiful highlight bloom you get with film, and just a more tactile, almost physical feel to the image, all without actually shooting on film originally.
So they were essentially chasing a film look, trying to simulate it or kind of graft the soul of film onto digital rather than starting with film itself, like I don't know, a digital soul transplant.
Haha, that's actually a great way to put it. It was a deliberate strategy, as Y.M.CINEMA points out in their article. They wanted to graft, quote, photochemical character onto a digital pipeline.
Photochemical character. Okay, break that down. What does that mean in practice?
Think of it as the unique fingerprint that film leaves on an image. It's how light physically interacts with the chemicals on the film strip. It creates this distinctive, almost living quality. It's different from the sort of perfect pixel by pixel capture you get with digital. It's what gives film its specific feel, its depth, its its soul, like you said.
Fascinating. So they were mimicking that. But now, Part 3, the plan is totally different. This is where it gets really interesting, right? Because now we're talking native film capture, starting with it.
Exactly. This isn't just a tweak in post. It's a fundamental shift in the whole process. The Y.M.CINEMA article really highlights this. The third chapter puts celluloid right at the very center from the beginning.
And there's a new director of photography.
Yes, Linus Sandgren is stepping in. And he's someone who is renowned for his deep love, his real expertise in photochemical capture. He lives and breathes film.
Okay, so that choice makes sense then.
Absolutely. The plan is to shoot extensively on film. They'll use those massive IMAX film cameras for the huge set pieces, the really epic stuff.
Right.
And then standard film stock for the rest. This gives them a coherent photochemical backbone for the entire story. That unique film aesthetic is there right from the start, from the moment light hits the lens. They're not trying to replicate it later.
So this feels like more than just swapping cameras. It's a real creative stance, isn't it? A commitment.
Definitely.
We have this cinematographer who really champions film. What does this love for photochemical capture actually mean for the look and feel of Dune Part 3? For us, watching it, how will it change our experience of Arrakis?
It really reshapes everything, from how they approach exposure, how much light they let in, to the filters they might use on the lens. It's a whole different mindset.
How so?
Well, Sandgren's approach, as the article describes it, means highlights are protected differently. They'll glow softly rather than just blowing out to pure white, which digital can sometimes do.
Ah, okay. More
Yeah,
detail in the bright areas.
exactly. And the blacks, the shadows, they're shaped with more texture, more nuance, instead of just being solid, crushed black. And colors. Colors can separate and breathe in a way that just feels more natural, revealing subtle shifts that digital might flatten out.
Mm.
The article uses this great phrase that film elevates intimacy and micro detail, and that the emulsion turns tiny textures into emotion.
Emulsion turns tiny textures into emotion.
That's quite poetic. What's the real difference we'll feel there, though, as viewers?
I think the core insight is digital often gives you a perfect, almost hyper-real image, right? But film can give you a more tangible feeling.
Thank you.
It's maybe like the difference between seeing a super sharp photo of, say, rough hand-woven fabric and actually feeling the weave, the little
Just
imperfections.
get that. Those tiny textures, the grain of wood, the grit on armor, the lines on a face under that harsh Arrakis sun. They aren't just visual data. They connect to our sense of reality, our sense of touch almost. Film renders these with a richness that makes Arrakis feel less like a set and more like a real breathing place you could step into.
Adds an organic layer you can't quite replicate digitally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that sensitivity is just crucial for everything in Dune. The
Yeah.
vastness of the desert, the detail in those ceremonial interiors, and especially the faces, the emotions playing out under that hard light.
And it's not just texture, is it? It's also about how light itself behaves, like
They,
within the frame.
precisely. With actual film in the camera, effects like halation.
Halation. What's that
It's
exactly?
a unique sort of ethereal glow or soft aura you see around very bright light sources. Think of the edge of a dune catching the sun, or maybe the flicker of a lamp.
Ah, I know what you mean. That soft edge.
Yeah. With film, that's not an effect added later. It's an inherent property of how the light interacts with the emulsion layers. It becomes a natural storytelling tool.
Hmm.
Same with color separation, warm skies, cool shadows. They can coexist beautifully on film without looking artificial or, as the article puts it, without plasticity.
Plasticity. Yeah, that's a good word for when digital color sometimes looks a bit off,
Yeah.
less organic.
Right. Film just has this unique way of rendering color and light that feels deeply interwoven and natural. It avoids that slightly artificial, sometimes plasticky look you can get if digital isn't handled perfectly.
Okay, so that covers the texture, the light, the color. But Dune means scale, monumental scale, the sandworms, the battles. What about those huge IMAX sequences? What does shooting those on actual film add? Is it just bigger?
It's definitely bigger, but it's more than just bigger. Using IMAX film cameras for the major set pieces is a massive upgrade, and it speaks directly to Villeneuve's vision for scale, for making the epic feel truly, truly overwhelming.
How does film achieve that differently?
When IMAX is captured natively on film, the article says it gives scale real weight. It's not just a larger picture. The image itself feels more substantial, more present.
Real weight. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The desert becomes this tangible, all-encompassing presence. Machinery feels genuinely monumental. And faces, even in wide shots, can read like landscapes, revealing every detail, every grain of sand almost.
Wow.
And crucially, filmed at that enormous size, it carries highlights with shape and lets sand sparkle without digital grit. Sometimes digital processing can smooth over or even fight against fine granular detail like sparkling sand, making it look a bit muddy or noisy. Film embraces it. It offers a more organic, more immersive visual that keeps that gritty texture without it becoming distracting.
That's fascinating, both epic scope and that micro detail simultaneously. And the article mentioned different film formats, 5 perf 65 millimeter versus 15 perf IMAX. Why the different types?
Good catch. Yeah, think of it like using different brushes for different parts of a painting. The dialogue scenes, those intense, quiet character moments where every little facial twitch matters, those will likely be shot on 5 perf 65 millimeter. It's still a large format, much bigger than standard 35 millimeter, but it allows for incredible detail, really rich, elegant depth and close-ups. Beautiful focus fall off. It's perfect for intimacy.
Right, for the close-ups and conversations.
Exactly. But then for the huge battles, the sandworm rides, the sweeping desert vistas, the grand ceremonies, the moments that need to just blow you away.
That's the 15 perf IMAX.
That's the 15 perf IMAX. It's a massive film negative, like 10 times the area of standard 35 millimeter. It captures an insane amount of information. It makes those sequences feel truly operatic, filling your whole vision with just unparalleled clarity and presence. It's about using the right tool for the job, leveraging the strengths of each format for the story without losing intimacy in the big scenes.
So pulling it all together, what does this mean for the final cohesive look of Arrakis in Part 3? How will it all blend together?
The key words are probably authenticity and integration. The grain, for example, will sit in the image, part of its fabric, not just an effect laid on top.
What's the difference there? Isn't grain just grain?
Well, think of digital grain sometimes feeling like a pattern painted onto a smooth surface. It can look good, but you sense it's separate. Film grain is more like the natural texture of the material itself, like the grain in wood. It feels organic, inherent.
Okay, I see. So it avoids that plastic emulation the article mentioned.
Exactly. And motion might feel more immediate, more real, because the emulsion reacts physically, capturing subtle shifts. But the really crucial takeaway from the article is this. The look starts inside the camera, not in a film out loop after the fact.
Right, it's baked in from day one.
It's baked into the negative from day one. It's a fundamentally different philosophy, making sure that unique film character informs every decision right from the start.
Okay. Now, while a lot of us, especially cinephiles, are really excited about this, that Y.M. Cinema article's comments section, it showed a really passionate, sometimes even kind of fiery debate. Film versus digital.
Yeah.
Some viewers really felt the first two films missed something, didn't they? That digital didn't quite cut it for Dune.
Yes, there was some very strong sentiment there. One commenter, just identified as P, argued pretty forcefully that, quote, digital capture ruined the first two movies, found them sterile and inorganic compared to the world Herbert described in the books.
Wow, ruined. That's strong.
Yeah. P basically felt that digitally captured images just don't look or feel like film, and even went so far as to call digital garbage for cinema.
Ooh.
And they included Blade Runner 2049 in that critique, too, another Villeneuve film, calling its digital look a betrayal of the original Blade Runner's film aesthetic. So it highlights a real purist preference for film's organic quality.
That is a very strong take. Garbage for cinema. But, importantly, the publication itself, Y.M.CINEMA, pushed back a bit, offering context. Because it's not always black and white, is it?
Not at all.
What was their rationale for the digital approach in the first two, beyond just chasing that film look? Were there practical reasons?
Absolutely practical and creative. Y.M.CINEMA clarified that the film-out process wasn't just busy work, it was a very deliberate strategy. Their words were to graft photochemical character onto a pipeline that had to carry very heavy VFX and extremely dark interiors while hitting a huge global schedule.
Okay, VFX and dark interiors, that makes sense.
Right. Dune has a ton of complex visual effects and lots of scenes in very low light. Digital gives you more flexibility and control for integrating VFX seamlessly, and it generally performs better in very low light than film does.
Sometimes digital is just the better tool for the specific job.
Exactly. They specifically mention Blade Runner 2049 again. The cinematographer there, Roger Deakins, a legend, he chose digital not as a compromise, but for the precise control of low light and color separation with complex practicals, like all those neon signs and rain effects. It served his specific creative plan for that film. Digital's dynamic range and sensitivity were advantages there.
That really highlights it's about the vision, not just the tech. What about grain management? P seemed to hate the idea of messing with film grain in post. Just leave it alone. Was that fair?
Y.M.CINEMA had a good explanation for that, too. They said, good teams do not scrub grain to make it sterile. That's not the goal.
Okay, so what is the goal?
It's more about consistency and presentation. They even it out, so intercut shots match, so you don't get jarring shifts in texture between shots. Also, so IMAX blowups do not turn grain into distraction, because when you blow up film that much, the grain can become huge and overwhelming.
Ah, I can picture that. Almost like visual noise instead of texture.
Exactly. And also, so streaming compression does not smear fine detail. Compression algorithms can really mangle heavy grain if it's not managed carefully.
Yeah.
So the goal is a stable, natural texture that looks good everywhere, from a giant cinema screen to your tablet. It's not about making faces look like plastic.
Right, it's sculpting, not scrubbing. Making sure it enhances, not distracts. Okay, so despite all the technical debates, the core feeling seems to be, like the article says, film suits this world.
That seems to be the consensus, yeah.
And the really exciting part is that part 3 is just leaning right into that from the very beginning. Not as an afterthought, but as the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole discussion points one way. You've got a DP who lives for film, a director chasing that epic scale and presence, and using IMAX when the story screams for it. What's the ultimate payoff for us, for the viewer, when we finally sit down to watch Dune Part 3?
I think this is really the moment the whole visual approach of the Dune series has been building towards. It feels like the culmination.
How so?
The series has sort of been moving towards this, where Celluloid isn't just a finishing touch, an emulation, but the primary canvas from square one. The promise here is that Part 3 will truly carry the heat of Arrakis, the mystery of the spice, and the scale of empire with grace and power, in a way that only starting with film can deliver.
Even if we end up watching it on a digital projector, like in most IMAX theaters.
Yes, even then,
Uh,
because the origin is different. As Y.M.CINEMA suggests that IMAX banner will mean more than just a bigger room, it signals a deeper commitment to the format's intent, right from capture. That whole philosophy should translate into a more profound, more tactile, more immersive experience overall.
a deeper format intent. I like that.
Yeah. If they deliver on all these signals, if Sandgren's approach really meshes with Villeneuve's vision on native film, Dune Part 3 could genuinely be the most ravishing Dune yet. It's a chance for the medium itself to amplify the story.
Okay, so we've journeyed through this fascinating, really fundamental shift to native film for Dune Part 3. We've looked at the aesthetic benefits, richer colors, that organic grain, the sheer weight of IMAX film, and the potential emotional impact.
And we navigated that whole digital versus celluloid debate,
Yeah.
understanding the nuances and the reasons behind different choices. It's definitely not just a tech detail for film nerds.
No, it's a core creative decision. It feels poised to really shape how we experience one of the biggest sagas in cinema right now.
Absolutely.
So as you're waiting, probably very eagerly, for Dune Part 3, here's something to think about. How does the actual medium film's chemistry, digital's pixels, become like an unspoken character itself?
That's interesting. How does it shape not just what you see, but what you actually feel? Does it add layers of texture, mood, emotional weight that might otherwise be missing?
Exactly. And maybe think about what other stories, what other kinds of worlds might really benefit from embracing that unique soul of celluloid right from the start. How could that change their impact in ways we haven't even thought about?
Yeah, something definitely to chew on while we wait for our next trip back to Arrakis.